Very good evening from India and heartiest welcome to all the guests. I, Dr. Manasvi Maheshwari, Associate Professor, DME Media School, welcome you all to another interesting session on the 5th day of Sannette International Film Festival of India, CIFFI 2021. CIFFI 2021 is the world's first 7-day hybrid film festival organized by educational institutes of two countries, DME Media School of Delhi Metropolitan Education, Delhi NCR, India, in association with School of Communications and Creative Arts, Deakin University, Melbourne, Australia. The first edition of CIFFI was held in April 2019, and the second was organized in December 2020. It has been our privilege to be associated with Deakin University during the previous editions of our film festivals as well. This time, with the theme of cinematic rejuvenation, hashtag Cinema 2021, CIFFI is being organized in a hybrid mode to serve as a beneficial platform for beholding the new methods of viewing and studying cinema during the challenging times of the pandemic. It is a matter of pride for us that CIFFI 2021 has received a submission of 3,130 films from a total of 111 countries. This film festival is bringing along 21 sessions with 70 experts through 11 panel discussions, 2 curated sessions, 2 master classes, 2 workshops, 2 special sessions, and 2 special segments. Mr. Tigmanshu Dhulia, National Award-winning film director from Bollywood, is the Film Festival's ambassador for CIFFI 2021, and we are extremely thankful for his constant support. The festival partners of CIFFI 2021 are Cover Drive Productions, a Noida-based production house, Gyan Prasar, the organizer of National Science Film Festival of India, International Science Film Festival of India, and India International Science Festival, CMS Vatavaran, Environment and Wildlife Film Festival and Forum, KidzCINEMA, an online international children's film festival, Culture Cinema, a concept-based film festival aimed at celebrating world cultures, We Care Film Festival for promoting and exhibiting films on disability, Delhi International Film Festival for screening films and amidst heightened deliberations on world cinema. From Australia, our esteemed list of partners include Asian Media and Cultural Studies Network, Australia-India Film Practitioners and Researchers Network. Our institutional partners are Global Media Education Council, GMEC, an international platform of media educators and researchers, Indian Documentary Producers Association and Association of Documentary Filmmakers, Indian Academy of Shorts, IAS, an institution for imparting craftsmanship of filmmaking through small capsules, and New Delhi Film Foundation. Our media partners are APN News, a fast-paced current affairs web channel, Hindi Gaurav, one of the oldest Hindi newspaper in Australia, and Policy Times, an international platform for unfolding policy and governance issues. I would like to inform everyone that CIFFI 2021 is powered by SPARK, the Student Council of DME Media School. Journalism at DME is the official newsletter of DME Media School. DME TV is the official YouTube channel of DME, where you can find the playlist related to all the sessions, lecture series, film festivals, and conferences. It gives me immense pleasure to announce that for various sessions, we will go live on our official Facebook page of DME. For more information, you can follow us, our social media handles. Links will be shared in the chat box. You can also watch screening of films and this session live on our website, CIFFI.dme.ac.in. Now, I request Professor Dr. Amrish Saxena, Festival Director, Dean DME Media School, and Director, International Relations DME, to welcome the dignitaries and give his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Manasvi. So it's a matter of pleasure that this most awaited session is there. Today, we have entered, rather, we are ending this fifth day of this 7-day film festival. So last year, during this Corona influence, we decided to make it hybrid. So this time also it's hybrid because the things are not very conducive to hold it in the physical environment. But there's a good one good thing that because of it becoming an hybrid, we are fortunate to have our panelists, our film experts from all around the globe. This Children Film Festival, this session, so we are happy that people have joined right from Canada to Greece to Brazil to Iran, and all thanks to our friend and partner, Mr. Praveen Nagda, who has been kind enough in sparing this much time and organizing this session for us. And this whole festival, CIFFI 2021, is being organized by DME Media School, Delhi Metropolitan Education, in collaboration with the Deakin University, Australia. And that is how it becomes the only film festival in the world which is being organized by two educational institutions of two countries or two continents. So it's a completely a different kind of experiment that we have done, and we have succeeded in doing this experiment. And we are organizing all kind of sessions from panel discussion to master classes and workshops. And at the same time, since we have created two platforms, on one platform there's a constant screening of the films which have been shortlisted. As already been told to you, more than 3,000 films we received, and out of that 400 plus films are being screened. And out of that, there are award-winning films as well, which have been finally decided to be the best by our jury members. So we are looking forward to have an interesting and thoughtful session this evening. So with this, I stop here and hand it over back to Dr. Manaswi Maheshwari.
Thank you so much, sir. In this panel discussion, we have an esteemed group of experts who will deliberate on the topic, Children's Film Global Movement, Opportunities and Challenges. The discussion has been organized in association with KidzCINEMA. Before I hand over the session to the moderator of the session, Mr. Praveen, I would like to introduce and welcome the panelists of the session. I would start alphabetically. Mr. Alexandre Juruena, Director and Curator of the Anim Art Brazil. He is an international student animation film festival of Brazil. He is an animation filmmaker with award-winning films selected at world festivals. He has conducted animation workshops at international film festivals and on Animated Festival itinerant circuit in cities in Brazil and around the world. He has been amongst the official jury of 4 River Film Festival in Carlock and Dubrovnik Film Festival, Croatia, and Ateli Film Festival, Brazil. Welcome, sir. Next on the line is Miss Azadeh, is an Iranian animation scriptwriter and director, International Center of Films for Children and Youth, and CBCI, the Children's Book Council of Iran, one of the scriptwriter of an animation series, Fingless 2016-2021, and director of 1,000 Years Old Man 2003, won some awards for that. Holding different workshops on making animations for kids and teens, being one of the selection committee and also a jury member of different festivals at Tehran International Animation Festival 2019, CIFFI 2019, KidzCINEMA 2021. Welcome, ma'am. Next is Miss Pamela Bisson, artist, producer, and filmmaker from Canada. Miss Pamela is a new media art artist, producer, and filmmaker based in Quebec City in Canada. As a new media art artist, she blogs and creates content for the web in the name of Pammy Poppins. Trying to reach her audience, she starts to produce short films in every situation where she can surround herself with children in the age group she targets. In 2015, she founded Lee Masson Club, a non-profit organization which produces media quality content by and for youth. Based in Quebec City, its ambition is to empower youth locally and globally with the power of creativity to be active citizens in their community. She believes in children's right of expression, so she seizes every opportunity to make space for them in her professional projects. Recently, she has been elected on the board of CIFFI. She intends to expand her creative connections and collaboration. We are honored to have you. Next on the line is Miss Sannette, consultant and producer from Netherlands. She's an independent consultant and producer in the field of new media. She is the former CEO of CineKid Foundation and CineKid Film, TV and New Media Festival in Netherlands till 2017. Curating for 20 years the film section of the festival herself, Ms. Sannette has an in-depth knowledge of media for young audiences. Under her guidance, the festival developed into the largest of its kinds in the world. Located in Amsterdam, a satellite festival in 35 plus cities all over the Netherlands and an in-depth media literacy program all over the year. It provides a leading support program for international media industry aiming at young audiences, covering the whole chain from development towards distribution. She conceptualized the yearly CineKid Media Lab, 1200 M2 full of installations, games, and apps for children, seen by the industry as the place to get updated on new tech and media innovation. Welcome, ma'am. Next is Mr. Sean Cisterna, is a multi-award-winning director whose most recent film is From the Vine 2020, an international co-production starring Emmy winner Joe Pantoliano and distributed by Samuel Goldwyn Films. Mr. Sean directed the acclaimed cancer drama Kiss and Cry 2017, which topped the Canadian box office and is currently streaming on Netflix worldwide. His 2015 feature Full Out starring Jennifer Wills is based on the true story of gymnast Ariana Berlin. The film was broadcast on NBC, now residing with Netflix worldwide and Disney Europe. Next is Ms. Theodore Malliora, researcher and filmmaker from Greece. She has graduated the School of Film of Aristotle University of Thessaloniki in 2010, specializing on film directing. On an academic level, she continued her studies with MA Art, Law and Economy of International Hellenic University and currently is a PhD candidate at Department of Early Childhood Education of the National and Kapodistrian University of Athens. Researching film festivals for children and youth. Professionally, she is an active cinematographer and audiovisual educator, both for adults and children. She has taken part in plenty of national and international programs about film development and media literacy initiatives. I welcome you all on behalf of DME Media School and pardon me for any pronunciation error. Now I hand over to our moderator, Mr. Praveen Nagda. Praveen Nagda is the film director, KidzCINEMA, Festival Director, KidzCINEMA and Culture Cinema, India. He has been closely associated with many national and international events related to cinema for children, art and culture, such as 20th International Children's Film Festival India 2017, 2nd National Children's Film Festival 2016, 19th ICFFI 2015, CFSI Film Bonanza with CYDA Pune, Samanvay 2013, an initiative of Jackie Shroff's Foundation Mumbai, Parampara 2011, a tribute to Academy Ratna Pandita Rohini Bhate Mumbai. Children's Film Festival Sikkim in 2017, International Children's Film Festival 2016, Northeast Smile International Film Festival for Children and Youth, Delhi. And I would like to now hand over to the sir for taking the session forward. Over to you, Mr. Praveen.
Thank you, Manasi ma'am. You have made my job very easy right now. Introducing the beautiful panel we have from all over the world, cross-continental panel, really eminent people. They have all been experts in their domain. And it's not just a meeting of continents, it's a meeting of minds because they all are working very passionately towards the cause of children's cinema. Children's cinema is a complex thing where often filmmakers tend to balance between the pedagogy and pleasure. So it's not just entertainment, but it's also value-driven entertainment. It's also about teaching them the lessons of life and nuggets of wisdom through storytelling, and that's how it becomes much more important for any country, for this world, for nation building, for making our kids great citizens, good human beings, etc., etc. So children's films have been a very significant part of filmmaking world over, but unfortunately, globally, there is much more still needs to be done. And therefore, the whole idea of discussing in today's meeting is that, what are things we can probably look at? What are things we can do? What is the current state globally as far as children's films are concerned? And, yeah, I can probably get some perspective from each of the panelists from their own countries. Of course, there's a lot of good work which is happening in Europe and other parts of the world. Let's discuss that. And maybe, the idea of going alphabetically is good. So maybe I can choose between Alexandre and Azadeh. And one of you, Alexandre, would you like to speak first and talk to us a little bit about the children's films in your country, how are things, and what all initiatives you have been taking? Maybe you can show some of the work that you have done with kids there. We'll be happy to see that also. Over to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Praveen. And first of all, I'd like to thank you for the invitation. It's a pleasure and an honor for me to be here with you. I'm Alexandre Juruena, the director of Arte, International Student Animation Festival of Brazil. The Arte Festival is celebrating 20 years in 2021. And I'm also a filmmaker and teacher, mentor at the animation workshop of Escola Parque, a school in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. And I teach animation for children and young people, and also do animation workshops in partnership with many film festivals in Brazil and around the world. The Arte Festival is the only film festival in Latin America that is a member of the YCN, Youth Cinema Network. I believe that one of the biggest challenges in teaching animation to children and young people is to keep them concentrated, attentive, and committed. Nowadays, digital media provide a lot of information, but also a lot of dispersion. I also think it's very important to promote collective work and collaboration among the students. Animation is a fully inclusive art, and we can potentialize different talents by working together in film production. But now, speaking from a broader perspective, social inequality greatly affects many children and young people to learn how to make films. Many children don't have the same opportunities to learn audiovisual skills and use it to make films. The current generation is much more familiar with multimedia language, but even so, I think audiovisual education is essential for everyone. Film festivals are very important for people in general to get to know the wide diversity of film production made by children and young people, especially as it's also a showcase for the cultural diversity of different peoples and countries. I believe that children and young people are much more stimulated and engaged when they know their films will be seen by audiences all over the world. And I would like to present right now a film made by my students here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, which involved a lot of feelings because this film is about the worst environmental tragedy in the history of Brazil. The rupture of tailings dams completely destroyed 2 Brazilian cities. And the students wanted to represent and denounce this disaster using personal objects. The film Mud was inspired by the cinematography of Jan Svankmajer, the master of Czech animation, because he worked with clay. And the film was awarded and officially selected at film festivals in many countries.
Thank you so much. I think it is one interesting point that has come out of this is that to promote the children's films movement globally, it's good to involve children themselves and at an early age, which you're doing at your level in Brazil. Congratulations. Thank you so much for sharing this work of yours. And let me go to Azadeh. Azadeh is from Iran. Iran has a great filmmaking culture. In fact, in last few festivals of ours, we had the largest submissions from Iran as a country. So despite the restrictions and despite a lot of, clamp up that you would see in the country politically and government-wise, people are there expressing the creativity and, taking the movement of cinema and especially child cinema, children's cinema a lot.
Oh, well, I'm happy to hear that. Yes, Iranian people are very into cinema and movies, and they like to make movies, but as you know, the cinema here is more governmental than non-governmental. I mean, if government be they can make many good movies, but because of the economy problems, they cannot do such things. But children are making their ways because of the technology can help much to make what they think, and they don't wait for the government here. The children, I mean. So I see very bright future for children for my country, in my country, to make better and better movies. And me as a animation director and scriptwriter, I always try to lead them to be in a good way, to find their way, and I try to transfer anything I know as workshops, as anything else, to help them to be more active in their field.
Excellent, great insights. How children have been learning filmmaking in Iran. Let's go to Pamela. Pamela is known as Pammy Poppins, okay, among the kids, and she has done a lot of good work with kids. And I think, Pamela, you may speak about the situation at your end, and then we will discuss a lot more things in the coming minutes.
Yes, thank you. Namaste. Thank you for having me with you today and making me travel when it's not very possible for us at the moment with the rising event of Omicron everywhere. So I have to admit that the past years have been very challenging for me and my organization. And to be completely honest, I did look for jobs in the past year of pandemic, and I did think about giving it up, but nobody hired me, so I I stayed in my own path, and instead, well, in the year of the past year, in 2020, 2021, I didn't have so many projects going on because nothing was possible to do with children, and I mainly co-create with children projects. So we maintain a radio show, a weekly radio show in distance, which was quite challenging because it's a voluntary project I do. So it came up to be much more work. But then it also gave me time to think about project I would like to do when things start again. So I got funding for better projects. And since September, I'm working on since July or June, I've been working a lot on many projects, and even in a much better ways than before the pandemic started, because I got more funding and more possibilities to do great things with children. So I'm working right now on a 2 years project with schools, and the project is named Québec dont vous êtes le héros. So Québec, where you're part of a hero. I'd like to share some of the things I do, but most of the things are not subtitled at the moment. And as I speak French on a daily basis, might not be very relevant to share at the moment, but the project is to create a collective short film, but with a process of vote in every step of the creation. So I've been with a very democratic process. So it's on a 2 year stretch. It's in collaboration with the Children Film Festival and the Cartoon Festival. So we have professional artists from the city making it all happen. So all the professional artists are like at the service of the children's imagination that are part of the project. They are, instead of teaching them to be a director or actors, they're just part of the production team. So they're in the process of making decisions all the way through. They may be ending up, they may be end up in front of the camera once we shoot the film, but they may not. So we don't know exactly where the journey will take us, but it's a very collaborative project, like Alexandre said. I really believe in the fact of making a team effort, and once you get them into the movie theater and they see the work on the big screen, that's when the magic really happens for me. So I have this time is pretty crazy, so I could be speaking a lot of other projects, but this is the main one, and I like the fact that I got the funding to make it stretch on a 2-year span. So I work with school on 2 years, so it's also making a better bonding with the children taking part in the project. So I think I can end here.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you so much. So interesting insights from almost on the verge of giving up to not giving up. That's something for all of us to learn, and something that you will, I'm sure, be instilling these kind of values in your films when you work with children. And with this, we definitely make them much stronger as persons as they move into the next phase of their lives. I think we should remain in Canada for some more time, and let's speak to Sean.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I mean, I come from Canada as well, and I do think Canada has this strong cultural history in youth filmmaking and children's filmmaking. I mean, one of our country's most recent children's films just went to the Oscars a couple of years ago. It was a film called The Breadwinner, and it was nominated for Best Animated Picture about 2 or 3 years ago. That was a co-production with Ireland as well, Cartoon Saloon. From my own experience, I've pitched 2 films for youth to different broadcasters here in the country, and they actively take pitches, and through their broadcast licenses, they help pay for a portion of the overall feature film. So I think there's some great cultural support on youth and children's filmmaking, and our cultural entities recognize that. I'm also part of something called the Youth Media Alliance, and it's a collection of filmmakers and producers who actively meet and take this initiative to regularly discuss our projects in development, our projects that we may have completed, and help push them along through the development and financing of the projects, as well as share industry news so we could be at the top of our game, sort of thing. As for me, I mean, I'm going to spend the bulk of 2022 on this new youth project. It's this feel-good family film based on a remarkable true story, and it's a co-production with Brazil. It's this true story of how this kid was deported from Canada, and to get back home to his family in Brazil, he rides a horse from Calgary to Brazil. It's this remarkable 10,000-mile journey that actually took place in 2012. So it's this remarkable tale of this kid's determination to get back home to see his family, which is very relevant today. So yeah, I mean, that's an example of how films are put forward in Canada, and yeah, looking forward to the rest of the discussion.
Thank you, Sean. Youth Media Alliance, I think it's a very interesting initiative. Wish you all the best in this, and we hope that we'll see more films from YMA, and hopefully some of those films will be also in our festivals in India in the coming days to come. Let's go to Sannette, Netherlands. Europe has a great film culture for children films. I think Sannette can give us a lot of insights. Sannette, please.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, what to say? There's so much points of view on this subject. Let's start with production. From my experience, stories do travel, but also story at a certain level do not travel, because from different cultures we have different values, and sometimes this is vulnerable or even preventing, to be honest, in certain circumstances, because we don't want to hurt other people within their context. So sometimes this is a challenge. You also see a big gap between the smaller, for instance, like the animation studios. You see a big gap between the small studios, the independent animators, and the big production companies that find their ways towards co-production, find, because of their status, European co-production money, for instance, and have the money to get help, to get script doctors, like quality people, to really push the project further into a quality production. Unfortunately, because of this possibility, so to speak, we indeed had several very interesting co-productions over the years, mainly between European partners, and including nowadays also like Canada. But from my experience, Canada is more or less a European country, or Europe is more or less a Canadian country. We are very much related, especially the western part of Europe, especially the Dutch. In my long history of collaboration, I did work a lot with Canada, because we have, in terms of culture, like what is done and not done, we are almost like equal. And I guess you have these partners in mind for yourselves as well, that you have certain preferences in terms of culture. What is very important in storytelling, for instance, if I access the differences, for instance, sometimes in the Western point of view, the storytelling of India for children is really long, is often about like many gods and all this important cultural content, what is not so much relevant for like a Western child watching almost like 10 minutes or 25 minutes. So you have these hiccups, but also the many ways you can collaborate. For instance, I remember the time after the Eastern European countries entered Europe. Maybe it's a long time ago, but not in terms of cultural and economical effects. In those days, we had brilliant Eastern European animation studios, and they were supported more or less like in Iran nowadays by their own governments. But as they moved into the West, all this money and access to the market actually stopped. What was a disaster, because there were so many very, very good animators, and they had their studios, they had their material, but no work and no way to earn a living. So they started to be a taxi driver, more or less, things like that. So we sit down with several European smaller animation studios, who also, because of the big gap, as I just explained, between the big companies and the smaller ones, had hardly access to work, but they had access to subsidies as a private animator, more so to speak. But they had to come up with a viable program. So we sat down, and I must say, before I explain it, that it didn't work out, unfortunately. But I still think it is a source of a good idea. Like, what could you imagine as a project that will sell? Because even if you invest your own time and money, if you don't get subsidies, you want, at a certain moment, you want to have some money coming out of it to proceed your work, and not to speak about feeding your children. So, for instance, it would be possible to sit together with even smaller studios and make a clever thing, like something like around Christmas. This is maybe not for India an important thing, but you could think about something like that. Around Christmas, many television buyers, they want series. Nowadays, they also want series about diversity. So you could think to make a series from several countries, telling their local Christmas story. It could even be not Christian. It could be like the story around getting, the change between winter and summertime, what is in essence Christmas. There are many festivities all over the world. And if you start like with the same, like the first minute being the same quality, and then you would drift into another story and even into another animation technique, what you're specialized in, clay animation, puppet, sand animation, whatever, you could tell all these stories and you make a format. The main thing is that all these independent people, most of them, they are not aware of thinking more, commercial is the wrong type. It's because it's not commercial. I mean, if you want to work commercial, you have to do something different. But to think about the client, about what could sell, what is interesting for the children in a local situation. So what would the television buyers trying to find? Because they reflect the needs of the children, and the market reflects the needs of the buyers. And so you are at the beginning as a producer or a maker, but you're also at the end of this thinking. So I have many things to tell you, but I'll better stop here.
Thank you, Sannette. Very interesting points made from the small animators to subsidies. So when it comes to subsidies, I think it's very interesting thing. A lot of governments do give subsidies, but that's again a scope which can probably be much more. I remember Denmark is a country which gives up to 25% subsidies on films which are for children and youth. The number in the last few years, I think they had put some 21+ million euros on subsidies for children's films. But of course, that number is small as compared to the global spend on the entertainment and film industry. Similarly, in India, we had CFSI, which is of course now merged with another two government organization. But CFSI had made about 250 films. This is all government's grant specifically for children, etc. So that's one. Let's move to Greece. Theodora can give us some insights about what's happening in Greece.
I will say that in Greece we have a kind of a tradition of a very important children's film festival where they showcase very important films for children from all around the world. It's the Olympia International Film Festival for Children and Youth. And during the last 5 years, more festivals have been created all around Greece. There is also very big network of people working in film education for children. Unfortunately, there is no integration of film education in the school curriculum. So all the people that we work on this field, we work independently. One important goal from my point of view is to create the space into the public school to bring film education, both for children to become better viewers, to learn how to watch films and how to choose which films to watch, and how to create also audiovisual content. I saw that there is a question in the chat about what one has to have in mind when making children's film. I wonder if the question is about professional films for children audience or for children who want to make their own films. If the person who did the question could specific, give us more specific question to answer, please. What else do you want me to say? I can talk about my current activities. Right now, we have begun with the Greek Film Center, a very big program about creating an online platform for bringing some films and film education activities in schools. It will be an online platform, but it has just started, so I cannot show you anything because it's just in the beginning. And we also develop an interactive online platform with the Olympia Film Festival, where there will be digital games online for children of primary school pupils to learn some techniques about how to create a film and how cinema is being built up. Should I answer to the question that I see in the chat?
We can answer. You would like to take the question? I am fine.
Yes, and okay, they ask about what we have to keep in mind when we make films for children. Well, I'm not specialized in that, so I will not answer that. Maybe there are people from all around the world in this panel who know better how to make professional films for children audience. I am more specialized in helping children to create their own films. Okay, and the other question about the parents. The role of the parents is also very important. I mean, when you create a workshop or you're trying to think how you can bring children towards filmmaking, of course, there are the teachers and there are also the parents who can be incorporated in this. It can become a family activity. There are many ways to think how to make groups of people communicate, and in these groups to integrate children. This is what I have to say for the moment. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Theodora. Interesting, a very, very interesting point that you have made was integration in school curriculum. I think that's one initiative, if taken very well across the countries. Of course, it will require a lot of willpower from the governments and educational bodies and filmmakers and even the schools that are there. Today, we see a lot of schools do, adopt to filmmaking courses. They do have such programs. But yes, if you take this initiative further, where we can involve filmmaking, teaching to the students, then in that case, you are actually addressing the whole ecosystem of the children's film making, children's cinema, because in there you will require a lot of specialists who can come and teach and train. So there you are involving the filmmakers. There you are involving the kids who are learning themselves to make those films, and you never know, out of them, some of them might just become known people as they grow up, because they will probably identify their own talents over there. So I think that's one very interesting point, something which if we practitioners of children's cinema, academic institutions, festivals, governments, if all of them take initiatives in whichever little manner that they can, this can help propagate the movement of children's cinema globally. That's it's a good, very, very good point. Now, I think we can take some more points in terms of discussing it. Academic institutions and governments of course give subsidies, and beyond subsidies, what all governments can do, what all academic institutions can do, how they can help propagate this cause of children's cinema. Maybe let me ask one question to Sannette on this. Sannette.
Well, I have several points of view to answer. The helicopter view is that from point of production, of course, we must produce quality. So that's one thing that we have to put aside. The second one is education. I totally agree that for children, the education context, either being governmental or at home, is very important. And with my media lab that I developed was not so much to show the last tech possibilities or apps, or also because that was part of it. But the main message is that in those days, over the years, and nowadays it's fully blown developed, children make their own content with their telephone and relate to that. So we are, so to speak, nowadays, all civil people are filmmakers themselves. So like what we did in school to start with children to learn how to read and learn the ABC to start with, or whatever your language gives you as a start. We should also do with children, because it's a language nowadays. It's cinematographic, it's a normal language, and we fail to educate. In media education, we all governments think only like prevention, and it's dangerous for the children, and it's dangerous because they get misinformation. That's all true, but that's not the essence. It starts with the ABC of learning a language that we fail to give. Then the second thing is producing is interesting, but actually at the moment, the world almost drops down because of content. We have so much content. So it's not about the content itself, it's about selection. It's about to find quality, and second, of course, to present it to distribution. We fail worldwide to organize this. And we have maybe governments, we have strong parties, we might have like big investors to think of, but we fail the prime level of acting in this field. We have no access worldwide to quality content besides like the Netflixes and so on, and they select a certain type of content, what might be not like bad, but is not really very helpful in certain extent as well. So we have our own position to fight for that. And until now, we are too much in our own bubble. So we are more and more in the social bubble, getting narrow and narrow. But also in this field of the wider perspective, the helicopter, we're getting more and more stuck in our own position. And nobody feels the responsibility anymore to think about what is the need of the children, how could we organize it clever? Like Elon Musk did about how to get on the moon or how to get an electric car. Think clever, think big, and organize something. And we all fail in that. We just keep on trying to do our small things, fight for the big or smaller money from our governments. And it is not easy. For instance, I did talk like 3 years ago with, on the spot in India with the education department. They even showed me their big venue. They have their own studio. They have a huge platform for public schools in India. Almost all public schools have access to a platform with content. So we sat down and talked. And so like 1 and 1 is 2, of course. Select quality content there, audiovisual content there for children, because you have the platform, you have the infrastructure, you have everything. It's just a matter of curation and find in a certain way the money to have this content. But I know that most like producers at a certain moment, they know they cannot sell it anymore to India, so they will get it probably for small money. And who cares? It's 3 years, 4 years old. That is not interesting at all. So there are a lot of possibilities, but then there was no follow-up. I mean, there was enthusiasm in India, but then this man, probably he was, I don't know, someone else came in on his top position because this was the top dog of the organization, or national people told him not to handle with this strange European lady with all their fancy ideas because this is not their culture. I don't know, but it drifted away. But the thing I learned is so a bright idea is not enough. But at the other hand, if you don't push them forward, nothing happens. So those are the days nowadays. I think those are the most important things.
Thank you, Sannette. Thank you. I think what is required is a concerted effort from all of us, those who are working towards this cause. Come what may, we have to keep up the show running. We have to keep reaching out to people, identifying the opportunities that are available for children, and constantly work towards it, getting out of our own silos. As you said, it is important. We need to just reach out and collaborate as many as people with whom we can. And I think that's something which can help us taking this cause of children's cinema ahead, as far as the global perspective is there. Now, I do understand there are challenges that we face when we work in a very cross-border environment. But at the same time, cross-border opportunities are always helpful for both the countries. Can I ask Sean something about it? What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, these cross-border partnerships, I think if smarter producers could take advantage of this discussion around diversity and incorporate themes and performers from other cultures along with its home culture where the film kind of originates. So I don't know, as a producer, I think if you think globally and as opposed to locally, your stories tend to be more universal. And not only does the story or film have the opportunity more to travel, it opens up the opportunity to partner with another country to produce the film. And it opens up a broadcast license and distribution in both countries. I do think the challenges, however, remain funding. I mean, we're competing against other filmmakers who are pitching, awards bait dramas or thrillers. So there's not a dedicated fund in Canada, at least for the creation of children's feature films. And so while it's not actively spoken aloud, children's films are not put on the same tier or quality level as our friends who work in drama. So our funders are more likely to fund a dramatic awards type film than, one that would be made for the entire family. So there might be a mental block when it comes to pitching our films to these funders who actively hear multiple genres and styles being pitched to them, and they only have a certain amount of resources to say yes to. I mean, for television in Canada, I think it's a different story. We have the Canada Media Fund, and that actively supports specific funds for children and youth and family programming. And our shows here in Canada are exported all over the world. You may have heard of, like Paw Patrol. That is a global phenomenon that originated here in Toronto, where I'm from. So yeah, there's a bit of a disconnect between film and television, but we do have, the passionate producers and filmmakers and talent here to make films. It's convincing the film funders that our, youth films and children's films can be of the same quality and achieve the success that a dramatic film might as well.
Thanks, Sean. Interesting insight. It's a shift of a mindset is something which is required at various levels and various parts of the ecosystem of children's cinema. If we look at, I think that can be a good catalyst for taking this movement ahead. I have some questions from the audience, some student questions. Let me read out the question, and then any of you who is willing to answer can answer the question. The question is, do you believe that filmmakers often blur the line between films for children and films where a child is a protagonist, but the content is actually for their parents? That's a question from a student. Who would like to answer this question?
I can answer it. Sorry, Sannette, go for it.
No, please.
We can hear both perspectives. After Azadeh, Sannette can also talk about her views, yeah?
Okay, because this is a big problem for me also, because I always think of it, we have many directors that make movies for children, and the problem is they think that they know the children's board, but they don't know. Actually, the audience would be parents instead of children themselves. There are so many subjects in the movie that they are not even good for children. They're about children, and they should put a big border between children's film and movies for children's. They always mix them with each other, and I think if they know how to make movie and they know cinematography, they are good filmmakers, children filmmakers, but they're not actually.
Thank you.
Sorry, Sannette.
Yes, I totally agree with Azadeh in this perspective. And there's a next level coming with it, and it is that adults, being filmmakers or funds or distributors like television, they want to they want to learn, they want to teach children. They have their own motives. They're not about, so the criteria are often also blurred. So they, and that comes with also the best intentions, also to save the world, so to speak. But because it is children, adults have the primary reflection that they want to teach. You know, they want to tell the children how to behave, how to learn, how to live their lives, how to react on each other, how to be friends, how to be this, how to be that, how to be so, how to and I think it is very important to bring meaningful stories. So in a way, there is always a message. There is no story without a message. But this teaching and pushing it in the story, and also at the field of criteria like funding and so on, this is often very difficult, because at those sites especially, people want you to tell their story, being either like a governmental story, even like in Iran, if I may say so, or a very specific, like it can be about the pollution or whatever. So anything that's not in line with their message get criticism, and that is not the primary level that you have to follow. I last week I had a collaboration with Brazil, because there is a film in development, and they wanted my advice on it. And so I started all over again and told them, like, the primary rules of drama: you have your subject, you have your moment of return in the storyline, and the payoff, and so on, all the classic things. Go back to that and try to avoid to build your story about all these adult messages that you want to tell, because if you start with that, you will ruin your script and your film.
Thanks. That's interesting. That's interesting. We have some more questions. There's one question specific to Canada. How is Canadian films are different from Indian films? Okay. Pamela, you want to say something about this? I think we are talking in the context of children's films, not others. Okay.
Well, maybe Sannette will be the best to answer that question, because she's seen more films than everyone here in her career.
Yes.
I don't think I've seen that much Indian children film to have a great knowledge of comparison. But I think that what I can say is that we don't have enough access to Indian children film here. So I don't think we have the greatest position to express ourselves on the movie industry, and from India. We see barely anything from, unless we go to an international festival when we get the chance to see one. It's really rare that we get to see other films than from United States, from France. That's pretty much what we get. We can see films from other countries, but we won't know. We'll see we'll see a few ones, but from India, it's very rare that we have access to the films, and that's very unfortunate, I have to say.
Right. So that's a growth opportunity for India, and we all need to work hard on that part to ensure that we reach out Indian content more and more across the world. And probably the festivals can play a significant role when you have global film festivals. They can help us reaching out. Alexandra, what would you like to say?
I think Theodora is raising hand, isn't it?
Yes, but you can speak first. I don't have a problem. Thank you.
No, I just would like to say that when we create a film with children, and the message is always important, but I agree with Sannette that we have to hear the children. We don't have to, you have to do this, and we have to hear what they are thinking about that message that we want to pass, to transmit. And it's so important, the feelings that we will stimulate in other people, in other cultures. I think all of that, it's so important when we create a film. And we have a lot of other challenges also that we have to stimulate their imagination. At the same time, we have to talk to them what it's possible to do in the time we have to, like educators. Sometimes we don't have so much time to work with them. So we have to make both things, to stimulate their dreams, their fantasy in their minds, and at the same time we have to say to them, it's not possible to do all of this in this time. So, but here the children, I think it's always important when we create a film. And I think it's not only films produced by children, but films making for children. I also think the children's opinion is very important.
Thank you, Alexandra. Hearing the children, very important. And I missed the hand Theodora was raising. We must hear her too.
Thank you very much, Alexander. I agree very much with what you said about we have to listen to what the children have to say. And I mean, people who create films, professionals, they also could use children in order to get inspiration and check out their ideas and how they formulate the stories. But apart from that, I wanted to say that the truth is that most of us, we have constantly access to films from the United States and Central Europe. So we as adults, we have to search in order to find films even from our own country or from different regions. Children as audience have also the same problem. So for a child, for example, in Greece, and I'm telling you this because we had made a research about it, a child in Greece, we found in the research that children want to be able to see films in the Greek language and films that show how people from our region live. And they never see that on the screen. They always see American lifestyle or Central European, Northern European lifestyle. So the research show that when children have the opportunity to watch films from other regions, and especially their own, they find the connection that they miss. And probably the only way to find these films are the film festivals, or we can help them find paths to find these films through VOD platforms, through the internet, I don't know. I mean, there is a work that could be done about how to help children find content, and so they can build their audience I don't know, spectrum. They can understand that there is a very bigger variation of films out there and opportunities. This is what I wanted to say.
Very interesting. Theodora, very interesting. Children should be exposed to cross-cultural content, and it's very important to find the right content. And when you give them content from different cultures, different countries, they consume it well, they find a connect, they learn and they grow. And, you know, it's a very interesting thing that is has come out from the research, which is true, which is what, you know, we have also observed in very often our interactions with children when we talk to them about what they liked and what they did not like. In fact, cinema is such a beautiful thing. It doesn't require, it's a universal language in itself. Yeah. Many kids don't even need subtitles and languages. You know, they can just watch the film and they will understand what's happening. Kids are that sensitive. Now, before I take next question, let me ask. Can
I add something to that? We make life too difficult. If we have like 75, 100 languages all over the world, we have a network of in all these countries that could dub or voice over anything. We have translation software nowadays that could deliver the content. We just don't make an effort. We just don't do it.
You're right. In fact, some of these issues we face in festivals, we request you know, for subtitling and all that, and sometimes we don't get the subtitles. Sometimes the films are beautiful and we just miss because there's no subtitle. I understand, and those small little value additions can actually take the whole movement of children's cinema to a different level. If, you know, people take that little extra initiative, a little bit of extra effort. I agree with you. Very valid point. Before we go ahead, Dr. Saxena, how much time do we have?
It's completely up to you. But certainly, whatever this suggestion came from Sannette, you certainly can take a lead in making a repository of such kind of films which are available in multi-languages. That will be a great service to children's films, I believe.
What is your question?
Yeah, Praveen?
Yeah, one second. So there's a, do you agree with the professional ethics so much important for film industry and legal world? That's the question from one of the students, it seems. I think what she's trying to say is how much is ethics important when you are making films for children? Who would like to answer? Of course, ethics are important. Children, I mean, there has to be a message. One interesting point which was talked by Sannette was the meaningful stories, and meaningful stories can only happen if there's a right message and the right values and the right storyline. So yeah, it is important. Ethics is certainly important. Do we have any more questions?
I think there are no more questions. We can proceed towards the closer of the session, I believe.
Any of my panelist members, eminent members, would like to say something before I proceed with the last few lines of the session? Please. Yes, Pamela, please.
I just want to add to, well, Sean said earlier about the fundings in Canada and stuff, and Theodora talked about the importance of teaching cinematography, I'd like to say that even in Canada, it's not part of the curricular program yet. And it's really up to the teachers or to the school or to people like me or sort of like invading schools with their projects to make it something real. So it's not, we're not there yet in Canada. I just want to say it's still something that we need to implant.
Right. I think that's a growth area for all of us, for all the countries actually. And I think academicians who teach filmmaking can play a very big role in this, because they work with students, they also work with filmmakers, and in some way, in almost all countries, they are also connected with the local governments in some or the other manner. And therefore, academic institutions who teach filmmaking can really catalyze this particular initiative, and something that will help the whole movement of children's cinema globally. So I think it was very interesting conversation. A lot of good things, interesting things came out, like teaching them young, not giving up, co-productions, cultural, cross-cultural content sharing, learning the language, local language, messages, the meaningful stories. All of these things are extremely crucial for taking this cause of children's cinema ahead. And I think with this this great discussion, we can probably wind up today's discussion and hope that in the next editions, in the near future, other film festivals of similar nature, we can exchange more views, and that time we can share what we have done at our own levels after our today's discussion, and maybe share some learnings, insights from each of us. And with this, I would like to conclude from my end. Dr. Saxena, thank you so much. Dr. Sushita Bala, thank you so much. Dr. Manasvi, thank you so much.
Yeah, Manasvi,
you should say some things before we actually close it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. It was indeed an interesting session with such galaxy of experts touching the varied aspects of children's films, and listening from experts from 3 continents was overwhelming for all of us. Thanks to Mr. Praveen and KidzCINEMA 2021 for conceptualizing and conducting this session. I request Professor Sushmita Bala, Head DME Media School, to share her concluding remarks. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Manasvi. Thanks to Mr. Praveen Nagda for bringing such a rich panel to CIFFI 2021. I have no words in expressing my gratitude to you. I appreciate the efforts being done by Mr. Alexandre in teaching the students in children's cinema. His film Mud was really impressive. Ms. Azadeh told us how Iranian people do creative things which are mostly part of non-governmental cinema. Ms. Pamela told us about her passion for children's cinema. Despite all kinds of constraints, she has been pulling on producing children's films. Sean narrated his initiative in the field of producing children's films. Sannette talked about the financial part of making children's films. She discussed the issue of subsidies for children's film productions. Theodora narrated about her resolve of taking the children along in making films. She supported the endeavor of putting filmmaking as part of the school curriculum. Thanks to all the student participants and budding filmmakers present in this session. And thanks to all our panelists in this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you for that thank you note also. I thank all our panelists for this enlightening discussion. Thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday evening for some, afternoon and morning for some. I would like to extend my immense gratitude to the management and leadership team of DME. Without the support of Mr. Aman Sahani, Vice Chairman DME, Honorable Justice Bhavar Singh, Director General DME, and Dr. Ravikant Swami, Director DME, we would not have been able to come this far, so far. I also thank them for giving us this wonderful opportunity and the resources to execute the same. I'm thankful to Dr. Amrish Saxena, Dean DME Media School, Festival Director CIFFI, Dr. Vikrant Kishore, Festival Director, Dr. Sushmita Bala, Head DME Media School and Festival Associate Director, for their constant guidance and encouragement at every step. I thank our partners for collaborating with us and for their efforts. My gratitude also goes to the students' body of DME Spark, students with positive attitude and resonating communication. A special note of thanks to my colleague, Ms. Manmeet Kaur, Ms. Shruti VS, Ms. Mudita Raj, Dr. Teenam for their efforts and constant support and cooperation. I thank Dr. Krishna Pandey, Mr. Pramod Pandey, Mr. Mohammad Kamil for media coverage, Mr. Sachin Nair, Mr. Sumantra Das, Mr. Yogesh Sharma, Mr. Vishal Sahai for managing the technical production and digital operations, Mr. Anmol Mehta and Ms. Mudita Raj again for designing the beautiful creatives. I would also like to thank the students team of CIFFI who worked tirelessly facing all the challenges and obstacles of the pandemic to make this festival happen. I must thank all the participants who have contributed their creative pieces for this festival. Last but not the least, all the beautiful audience who joined and initiated so many, they put up really good questions, which was really, really interesting. Thank you so much. So we close for the day and we see you tomorrow at 12 noon India IST and 5:30 p.m. ADT on the topic, there's a panel discussion on the topic, Australia-India Film Relations, a Health Check. Thank you so much.
May I take the freedom to say something?
Yes, ma'am. Sure.
Okay, I'm quite sure I talk on behalf of all the panelists, if I may take the freedom to thank you so much for this opportunity and for the fine preparation and everything. And I have a last word to say to the students, because I see a question, any recommendations of the children's movie one should watch? Chew on this sentence, make a list, because we did that in the Netherlands, with the question, what films are important in the career of a child? So the question is not what should I see for the children? You should reverse your question. What films are important in a career of a child? So what films does the child has to see to grow up in this life circle? That question is the main question, and then you will probably find the answer on your question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.